The planet was silent. Not silent like a quiet night on Earth where crickets chirped and the wind rustled the trees. This silence was deeper. It was the silence of death, of time forgotten. The sky above was filled with 2 pale moons and countless stars. Dust blew over ancient stone ruins. At the center of those ruins stood a giant statue, but it was not made of stone. She had once been alive. Her name was Ara, and she was not human. Her body, now frozen in place, stood tall with silver skin and glowing blue eyes that no longer blinked. Swords, 12 of them, pierced through her chest. They were thick, black, and covered in strange red symbols that pulsed like veins. They had been there for centuries. No one knew how long she had been like this. The people who once lived on the planet were gone. The cities had crumbled. The wind was the only thing that remembered her name. Until the human arrived. His name was Jin, a young explorer from Earth. He wasn't a soldier or a scientist. He just loved stories. He loved exploring old places, forgotten worlds, and learning what came before. His ship, the Orchid Hawk, was small but fast. It brought him to this planet after he found a strange signal in deep space, a signal that repeated one word over and over again. Help. Jin followed the signal. It led him through asteroid fields, broken satellites, and long-abandoned stations. Finally, it brought him here. When Jin stepped off his ship, he looked around. He saw the ruins, the fallen towers, the cracks in the land. But what pulled his eyes was her, the woman with swords in her chest, standing like a forgotten god. He walked toward her slowly with a mix of fear and awe. She was over 10 feet tall, beautiful in a strange alien way. Her eyes, though not moving, felt alive. Her hair was made of silver strands that moved slightly, even without wind. He reached the base of the statue and stared up. "Who are you?" he whispered. He stepped closer. One of the swords buzzed softly like it felt his presence. He reached out and touched it. It was warm. The moment his hand touched the sword, the sky flashed red. The moons dimmed. The ground shook slightly. Jin pulled his hand back, but the sword buzzed again, louder this time. Then he heard the voice. It wasn't spoken aloud. It echoed inside his head. "Human." Jin stepped back. "Who said that?" "You can hear me. That means time has shifted. My prison weakens." He looked up again. Her lips hadn't moved. Her body hadn't changed. But the voice felt close, sad, old, and in pain. "You're alive? Half alive. Trapped. Dying slowly. I have waited for your kind." Jin's heart beat fast. This wasn't what he expected. He thought he might find ruins, old computers, maybe a relic. Not this. "Who are you? Why are you stuck like this?" "They called me Ara. Long ago I tried to stop the war between my people and the void beings. They didn't want peace. They punished me. The swords are keys and chains. Only one who is not from this galaxy can remove them. Only a human." Jin stared at the swords. Each one pulsed with red light. They didn't seem like keys. They looked like weapons. "Why haven't other humans come here before?" he asked. They could not hear the call. "You did." He thought for a moment. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was luck. But something about this felt personal. "Why me?" he asked. "Because your heart still hopes." "That is rare." Jin touched the first sword again. It pulsed stronger. He grabbed it with both hands and pulled. Nothing happened at first. Then, the sword began to shake. Light poured out from the blade and the red symbols turned white. With a deep breath, Jin pulled harder. The sword slid out slowly, making a terrible sound like metal crying. When it finally came free, he stumbled back and dropped it. Ara's body shuddered. Dust fell from her shoulders. One of her eyes blinked. Jin stepped back in shock. I didn't think it would actually work. The first lock is broken. 11 remain." He looked up again. Her lips moved, just slightly this time. She was waking up. "Does it hurt?" he asked. "Yes. But freedom always does. Jin sat down at the base of the statue. He needed a moment. The sword on the ground still glowed white. He didn't know what would happen if he pulled the rest. Maybe it would kill him. Maybe it would wake up something worse. But Ara looked down, at him with one eye open now. "Will you help me, human?" Jin didn't answer right away. He thought of the stories he'd read as a kid. The heroes who made impossible choices. The people who helped others even when they were afraid. "I don't even know you," he said. "You don't need to. You only need to believe in something, again." He stood up. "One sword at a time," he said quietly. And Ara smiled, just a little. In the sky above, something shifted. Far in the darkness, a black ship turned its eyes toward the planet. It had felt the change. It had waited a long time to make sure Ara never woke again. Now the human had ruined that plan. The Watchers of the Void began to move. But Jin didn't know that yet. He only knew that someone had asked for help and he had come. Jin could not sleep that night. He stayed near the strange woman statue, sitting beside her giant foot. The first sword lay on the ground nearby, still glowing faintly. The stars above were bright, but the sky felt different now, less peaceful, more alive. Something had changed. He kept thinking about the voice in his head. Ara. She had spoken like someone from a dream, calm and ancient. But when he pulled the sword out, her eye opened and he saw a spark of life. She was real. And she was waking. Jin lit a small fire using supplies from his bag. He sipped water from his bottle and stared at the other sword still stuck in her chest. There were 11 left. Each one pulsed with that red light. Each one felt dangerous. But something inside. Jin told him he had to keep going. By morning, the wind had picked up. It blew sand across the ruins, whispering through the broken stone. Jin stood and stretched, his back sore from sleeping on the hard ground. He looked up at Ara's face. One eye was open, glowing blue and watching him. "You're still here," Jin said. "I never left. I simply forgot what time felt like. Are you feeling better? The pain is less. Thank you." Jin touched the second sword. It buzzed like a wasp. "What happens if I take this one out too?" he asked. "More of me will return. More memories. More danger." Jin hesitated. "Danger to me?" "Yes. The chains are not just physical. They are connected to the old systems. Traps, guards, watchers." Jin looked around the ruins. He didn't see anything alive. Why would they do that? They feared me. I chose love over war. I chose peace. That made me the enemy. Jin sighed. Why do people always hate peace? Ara didn't answer. He took a deep breath, wrapped both hands around the second sword and pulled. This one was harder. The blade screamed as it moved. Sparks flew from the wound. The ground shook and something under the ruins began to hum. The sword came free in a flash of light, and Jin stumbled back again, heart pounding. Ara's other eye opened. Her chest, once dull silver, now glowed with a faint blue light. Two are gone. I feel stronger. But before Jin could speak, the ground beneath him cracked. From the broken stone, a metal creature rose. It was shaped like a spider, but as tall as Jin. Its eyes were red, and sharp legs clicked as it crawled toward him. "What is that?" Jin yelled. "A guardian, I warned you." Jin grabbed the second sword from the ground and held it like a weapon. The spider jumped. Jin rolled away just in time. It smashed the spot where he had stood. He swung the glowing sword and it hit the spider's leg. Sparks flew. The creature shrieked and turned. Jin ran. He didn't know where to go, but he ran through the ruins, dodging broken pillars and old walls. The spider chased him fast and angry. Then a voice rang in his head again. "Bring it back to me." "What?" "Now." Jin turned and ran back toward Ara. The spider followed. As he neared her, he heard a loud hum in the air. Her eyes were glowing brighter now. As Jin passed her feet, the spider leaped. At that moment, a blast of blue light shot from Ara's chest. It hit the spider midair, tearing it apart. The metal pieces fell around Jin like dead leaves. He fell to his knees, breathing hard. That was close. You have awakened more than me. The old systems are watching. You are in danger now. Jin looked up. So I just woke up the alarms? Yes. And the Watchers in space have felt it. Jin didn't know who the Watchers were. But he knew this was no longer just a quiet trip to explore old ruins. That night he sat near the fire again. He cleaned the second sword and placed it next to the first. He looked up at Ara. She didn't speak for a while. Then she said, "Tell me about your world." Jin blinked. "Earth? You want to know about Earth?" "Yes. I want to remember what I fought for." So he told her. He spoke about blue oceans, green forests, and tall cities. He talked about music and food, about laughter and war. He told her how people could be kind and cruel at the same time. He told her that Earth was not perfect, but it was still home. Ara listened in silence. Then she said, "That's why I protected it long ago." Jin's eyes widened. "You protected Earth?" "I met a human once. A man named Daejin. He showed me love. I wanted to end the war. My people called it betrayal, so they made me this statue. Daejin, was he like me? He had your heart. That's what matters." Jin felt something heavy inside, a mix of sadness and anger. He wanted to help her. He wanted to free her. But he also feared what else he might wake up. How many guardians like that spider are still here? I don't know. The last sword is linked to the worst of them. Jin stared at the remaining 10 swords. Then we have a long way to go. Yes, but you are not alone anymore. Far above the planet, a ship moved through the stars. It was black, shaped like a needle, and completely silent. Inside, machines worked. Screens showed the planet below. A voice echoed through the dark. "Ship, the traitor lives. A human has begun the unsealing." A second voice replied, "Send the Reapers. End it before it spreads." The ship turned and began to descend. Back on the planet, Jin stood with his hands on his hips, looking up at Ara. "You said only humans can remove the swords, right?" "Yes." "Then it looks like I'm the only chance you've got." He smiled. Ara didn't smile, but her eyes glowed a little brighter. "Then let us begin again, Jin of Earth." Jin picked up his bag and looked at the next sword. One by one. The next morning came quickly. Jin woke up early. He was tired, but his mind would not rest. The image of the metal spider still haunted him. Its red eyes, its sharp legs, the way it moved fast like it had no fear. He looked up at Ara. Her body looked a little more alive now. The silver of her skin was softer. Her eyes glowed brighter. A faint blue light pulsed from the 2 empty wounds where the swords had been. She was changing. "Are you feeling okay?" Jin asked as he rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "Yes. 2 swords gone. I can feel time again. I can feel hope." Jin stood and walked toward the 3rd sword. It looked the same as the others, dark, thick, and glowing with red symbols. But now, he knew better. Now he knew each one came with a risk. He touched the sword. It buzzed, just like before. Jin looked up at Ara's face. "What do you think will happen this time?" "I don't know, but I will protect you if I can." He nodded and wrapped both hands around the sword. "Here goes nothing." He pulled. The sword resisted at first. His arms shook. The red glow grew stronger, and sparks jumped from the blade. Then, with a loud sound like thunder, the sword came free. The ground shook. In the distance, a loud scream echoed through the ruins. It wasn't human, it was deep, low, and full of rage. Jin turned quickly. What was that? Something old. Something that was buried long ago. From the shadows of the broken city, a creature stepped into view. It was tall. Taller than Jin, but not as big as Era. Its body was black and made of thick, stone-like skin. Its head had no eyes, only a wide mouth full of sharp teeth. Long arms dragged across the ground. Jin took a step back. That's not a robot. No, Ara said. That is a void beast, born from hatred and dark energy. My people used them as weapons. The beast sniffed the air. It turned its head toward Jin and roared. Then it charged. Jin ran. Again. But the beast was faster than the spider had been. It leaped over walls, smashed through old stone, and came closer with every step. Jin ducked behind a broken tower. The beast crashed into it, sending stone flying. Jin rolled and came up behind a wall. He held the sword tightly. Suddenly, Ara spoke. Throw me the sword. What? Trust me. I am awake enough now. I can use your energy. Jin didn't have time to think. He threw the sword with all his strength. As the beast jumped toward him again, the sword floated in the air. Ara's eyes lit up. Blue lightning shot from her chest. The sword spun in the air and became a glowing spear. It flew straight into the beast's chest. The creature screamed and fell to the ground, shaking. Then it turned to ash. Jin slowly stepped out from behind the wall. That was amazing. Ara blinked slowly. 3 swords gone. My strength returns. But so do the enemies. Jin walked back to her. That thing, where did it come from? This planet was once a prison. Not just for me, but for the dark things we tried to hide. So the more I help you, the more they come back? Yes. But I believe you can face them. Jin sat down. His heart was still racing. I'm just a traveler, he said. Not a fighter. You are more than you think. High above the planet, in the black needle-shaped ship, the watchers were angry. One of them watched a screen showing the burning body of the void beast. She grows stronger. The human is ahead of schedule. Another voice hissed. Send the shadows. Do not wait. The ship opened. Small black pods dropped from its belly, falling through the sky like stars falling backward. Later that day, Jin and Ara sat in silence. Jin had set up a small camp again, boiling water and checking his equipment. I don't know how many of those things I can fight, he said. You won't have to fight them all. Some can be stopped by light, by truth, by memory. Not all enemies use claws. Jin frowned. That sounds hard to believe. It will make sense in time. As night fell, the stars above shined brightly, but one of them moved. Jin noticed. It first. That's not a star, he said. The object fell fast. Then another. Then a third. He stood quickly. Something's coming. 3 pods slammed into the earth nearby. Dust and fire flew into the sky. Jin ran toward a wall and watched carefully. The pods opened. From each one stepped a figure. They looked human but were not. Their skin was pale. Their eyes were black. Their movements were smooth and cold. Ara spoke at once. Shadowborn. Created to destroy hope. Be careful. The Shadowborn walked forward, scanning the area. One of them looked straight at Jin. It raised its arm. A black blade slid out from its wrist. Jin ducked just as the blade cut the air where his head had been. He rolled and pulled one of the swords he had taken earlier. It still glowed faintly. The light made the Shadowborn stop for a moment. They feared it. He held the sword up high. The Shadowborn charged. This time Jin stood his ground. He swung the sword hard. It hit the creature's blade, and sparks flew. The second one came at him from the side. A blue blast shot from Ara and knocked it back. Jin turned and stabbed the third in the chest. The creature screamed and turned to dust. Ara's voice echoed. They can't stand the light, use it. Jin held the sword higher and blue light flowed from its tip. The Shadowborn backed away. One by one they turned and ran into the darkness. Jin stood breathing hard. I didn't think they'd run. They are not brave. They are fear in flesh. When they see your light, they lose power. Jin dropped to the ground, tired. I don't know how long I can keep doing this. You don't have to do it alone. He looked up at her. She was more awake now. She could move her head a little. Her arms twitched once, as if trying to break free. Every sword makes me stronger, and you are stronger now too. Jin nodded. Slowly, I guess I am. He looked at the next sword. It still pulsed with red light, and he knew. They had no time to waste. The cold wind swept through the broken ruins as Jin stared at the fourth sword. It was thicker than the others and pulsed with a darker red light. The ruins around them seemed quieter now, but Jin knew that silence meant nothing good. Ara's eyes glowed softly. She was more awake than before, but the pain on her face told Jin she still suffered. I can't tell if this is harder for you or me, Jin said, flexing his fingers. The pain is mine, but the risk is yours. Jin nodded. He gripped the sword's hilt tightly. The cold metal felt heavy in his hands. Ready when you are. He pulled the sword slowly. At first, nothing happened. Then the sword began to hum loudly, the red symbols glowing fiercely. The ground shook violently. Dust rose in clouds and the air filled with a low, angry roar. Suddenly, Jin felt something inside him tighten. A cold grip on his heart, like icy hands squeezing. He gasped and stumbled backward. What's happening? He asked. The fourth sword binds not only my body but your spirit as well. It is the sword of doubt. Jin's mind filled with dark images. Shadows of failure. Voices whispering he would fail. Visions of Ara trapped forever. He shook his head hard. No. I won't give in to fear. Focus on your light, Jin. He looked down at the sword glowing in his hands. With all his strength, he pulled again. The sword came free with a burst of light that blinded him for a moment. When he opened, his eyes, the air was still. Ara's chest glowed with a soft blue light where the sword had been. Doubt is gone, she said softly, but your spirit felt its weight. Jin wiped sweat from his brow. I can't let fear stop me. Ara's eyes searched his face. You have grown stronger, but this journey will test more than your body. That night, Jin sat near the fire. Staring at the remaining swords, he could feel their power like they were waiting. He looked up at Ara. How many swords do you have left? 7. Each one holds a part of my soul and mine enemy's curses. Jin looked at the stars. 7. More fights. Yes. And the watchers above grow restless. Jin sighed. Tell me more about these watchers. Who are they? They are beings from the void beyond galaxies. They feed on fear and chaos. Long ago, they invaded many worlds, destroying hope. My people fought them and trapped some here. Jin shivered. Sounds like they hate peace. They do, because peace ends their hunger. The next morning, Jin woke early again. He was not alone. Around the ruins, black shapes moved silently. Jin grabbed his swords and ran to Ara. Shadows again? Yes, they come faster now. Jin looked around. This time more Shadowborn appeared, 10 or more. They surrounded the ruins, blocking the light. Jin held the swords tight. You ready? Ara nodded. Suddenly the Shadowborn charged. Jin ran forward, swinging the glowing swords. Blue light clashed with black blades. The battle was fierce. Jin fought, with everything he had. Each swing of his sword sent the Shadowborn flying, but more kept coming. Ara lifted her arm. From her chest came beams of light that struck the creatures, burning them into dust. But one Shadowborn broke through Jin's defense. It struck him with a heavy blow, sending him crashing into the stone. Pain exploded in his side. He gritted his teeth and stood up. You won't win. The Shadowborn snarled and lunged again. Suddenly, a voice called out from the shadows. Jin, watch out! A figure jumped in front of the attack. A young woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She swung a sword that glowed like Jin's. The Shadowborn stopped. The woman fought with skill and strength. Jin stared. How did you get here? The woman smiled. My name is Mina. I was sent by the Resistance. The Resistance? We fight the Watchers and their darkness wherever they appear. We heard the signal from your ship. Jin felt relief. Thank you. Mina nodded. Together, they fought side by side. The Shadowborn soon fell. After the battle, Jin and Mina sat by the fire. You're a good fighter, Jin said. Mina smiled. I've had to be. Why help me? Because if you fail, the Watchers will spread their darkness to Earth. Jin looked at Ara. She said the Watchers hate peace. We can't let them win. Mina nodded. We will fight together. Days passed. Jin and Mina worked together to remove the swords. The fifth sword was the sword of pain. When Jin pulled it, a wave of memories hit him. Memories of loss, of people he couldn't save, of failure. He fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. Ara's voice was gentle. Pain is a part of life, but it must not chain you. Jin stood slowly. I'm not giving up. He pulled the sword free. The blue light inside Ara shone brighter. The sixth sword was the sword of fire. When Jin pulled it, the air around them heated suddenly. Flames rose from the ground. Jin fought the burning heat and pulled the sword free. Ara's skin glowed with warmth. The fire of hope burns in us. The seventh sword was the sword of silence. When Jin touched it, all sound stopped. No wind, no breathing, no voices, only a cold emptiness. He almost dropped the sword. Ara's voice came, softly. Silence teaches strength. Face it with courage. Jin pulled the sword out. The sounds returned. The eighth sword was the sword of shadows. Darkness covered the ruins. Jin felt cold hands trying to drag him down. Mina and Ara helped him with light and words. He pulled the sword, free. The ninth sword was the sword of truth. When Jin touched it, visions of the past filled his mind, truths he wasn't ready to face. He saw the betrayal of Ara's people. He saw the Watchers' evil. He saw his own fears. He closed his eyes and pulled the sword free. The 10th sword was the sword of memory. Jin remembered Dejin, the human who had loved Ara long ago. He felt their pain and hope. He pulled the sword free. The last sword remained. The 11th sword, the sword of final sacrifice. Jin looked at it. It pulsed with a strong, dark light. Ara's voice was calm. This sword holds my final chains. Only the bravest can pull it. Jin swallowed hard. I don't feel brave. You are braver than you think. The Watcher's ship appeared again in the sky. Shadowborn gathered for one last attack. Jin, Mina, and Ara prepared for the final battle. The fight would decide the fate of the planet and possibly Earth. Jin tightened his grip on the last sword. He was ready. The sky was dark and full of stars. The Watcher's ship hung above like a black mountain blocking the moonlight. Shadows moved quickly beneath it, crawling toward the ruins where Jin, Ara, and Mina waited. Jin held the last sword tightly. His hands shook. This sword was different. It felt heavier than the others. The red light inside it pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and strong. Ara stood next to him, glowing softly. Mina checked her weapons, her eyes sharp and ready. This is it, Jin said quietly. The last sword, the final fight. Ara nodded. The sword of final sacrifice. When you pull it, everything will change. Jin swallowed his fear. You ready? Ara asked. Jin looked at her glowing eyes. They held hope and pain. He took a deep breath. I'm ready. He put both hands on the sword's hilt. The moment he pulled, a wave of energy exploded out. The air around them shimmered with light and heat. Jin felt like his body was being pulled in many directions. Pain, fear, hope, and strength all mixed. Inside him, the sword came free with a loud crack like lightning breaking the sky. The Watcher's ship trembled. From the ship, loud alarms rang out. Shadowborn poured from the ship's bottom. They were more than before. Dozens, maybe hundreds. They ran like dark rivers, their eyes glowing red with hate. Jin raised the last sword. Blue light flowed from it like a river of stars. Let's end this, Jin said. The battle began. Shadowborn charged with sharp claws and dark blades. Jin fought with the last sword, swinging it with power he never knew he had. Ara stood behind him. Light poured from her body, burning away the dark creatures that tried to come close. Mina fought fiercely, cutting through the enemies with her glowing sword. The ruins shook with the sounds of battle, metal clashing, screams, and the roar of Shadowborn. Jin felt the sword's energy inside him. It gave him speed. strength, and hope. But the Watchers were not done. From the ship, a shadow figure appeared. It was tall and made of pure darkness, with glowing red eyes that pierced the night. The Watchers' leader. Its voice was like thunder. "You cannot stop us, human. You will fail." Jin stood his ground. "I won't let you destroy hope." The Watcher laughed. "Then face your final test." It raised its hands, and the shadows around it grew stronger, turning into huge beasts made of black smoke and fire. Tharyur, shadow beasts roared and charged. Jin fought hard. Each swing of his sword cut through the beasts, but more kept coming. Ara used her light to hold them back, but she looked tired. Mina shouted, "Jin, we need more power." Jin closed his eyes and felt the energy inside the sword. He remembered everything. The pain, the hope, the fights, and Ara's words. With all his strength, he shouted, "Light of hope, break this darkness." The sword glowed brighter than ever. A beam of blue light shot into the sky, cutting through the shadow beasts. The Watcher's leader screamed and vanished into smoke. The shadow beasts began to fade. The battle was over. The ruins were quiet again. Jin fell to his knees, exhausted. Ara came to him, her glow bright and warm. "You did it, Jin. You freed me in this world." Jin looked at her. "How do you feel?" "Alive. Free. Because of you." Mina smiled. "You're a hero." Jin shook his head. "I'm just a traveler who didn't give up." The Watcher's ship disappeared into the stars. Peace returned to the ruined planet. Ara's glow spread across the land, healing the broken earth. Jin looked at the last sword. It was no longer red. It shone with pure blue light. Days later, Jin stood at the edge of the ruins. Mina was beside him. Ara's body was resting under the light, healed and peaceful. Jin looked at the sky. "Will they come back?" Mina shook her head. "The Watchers are weak now, but we must always be ready." Jin smiled. "I'm ready." The story ended with hope. A human had pulled out the swords that pierced a warrior for ages, and with that light, darkness was broken.